With the rise of the far right and even far right ideas in America, I think it's important that sometimes we talk about exactly what they're doing in places like America and even South Africa. Remember the far right idea that was in South Africa about Black South Africans genociding white South Africans. This is made up, of course, by white far right people who want to play the international game and come after people. Now, I want to react to a certain video from Jubilee, which had two people on there, which I think I should react to, which was shocking because I've watched far right people all the time. If you're black, you got to because you want to know exactly where these people are going to show up. You don't want to be surprised at all. One thing that surprised me though was this person who came in and talked, and yeah.
How's it going?
Hey, how's it going? Mehdi.
What is it?
Mehdi.
You're from northern UK, I guess?
I'm from London, North London.
Okay.
So, of course, as you can see, the conversation is starting off cordial and it will escalate dramatically due to the fact that both of these people are on two different sides. Now, Mehdi Hassan is on the left. I don't think anybody can even make a claim that he is not. And then the guy in the green is in the far right. I would definitely not put Mehdi Hassan in the far left. I'd put him in center left, to be honest. And then I would put this guy in one of the furthest left, so far left that I don't see why he even was on the show because there's no respecting his opinions, to be honest. Now, of course, the truth fears no question. So I think it's fair to address his claims, even though I think they're cartoonish.
Fair enough. What's your ethnic background, if you don't mind my asking?
My parents are from India.
Okay, perfect. Just getting premise here. First of all, I want to say
The premise of 12.
And we're starting off good. What we're seeing here is something that's very important, which is their obsession with identity. All of this, by the way, right wing politics has nothing to do with any of the politics they talk about. It has nothing to do with migration. It has nothing to do with history. It has nothing to do with any of that stuff. The only thing they care about is the race of people. They want to keep America white and really any other place. They want to keep the whole world white, but they're not going to say that because they're going to come across as a certain type of person. But they will pull back their opinion in order to appeal to the masses. And I might as well let him explain that for himself. But I think a lot of people lose that. They're like, oh, let's debate about politics. You can't debate politics with these people. What you first have to bring up is race. You have to say, what do you think about XX? What do you think of this? What do you think of this group? What do you think about them living here? Do you think that Africans have a right to live in America? All of that.
Trump being pro-crime.
No. I want to concern myself with why you care about what's happening in the U.S., first and foremost. Secondly,
the far right is the last group that should be concerned about why other people concern themselves about the United States. Because, of course, the United States is a nation with multiple people, but they want to cleanse this nation of other races. So people from outside of the nation of America who have good sense would pay attention to this country. Otherwise, let's just take this factor in. And this is what they're trying to do. Otherwise, you're going to have some unexpected visitors being booted back to your countries and you have no idea why. This is, of course, taking the premise that the right wingers win. If they win, they're going to throw all the non-white people out of the country, or worse than that. But let's say they do the, I hate to even use this word, sensible thing and throw them back into their countries. It will be every other country's concern because they were going to throw the Africans back to Africa. They're going to throw the blah, 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 blah. So to say, why do they care is silly. Now, secondly, why would they care as well? Clearly, if they want firstly, a native white utopia, this should be somewhere in Europe, nowhere near America. But they're not going to think about that. They're not going to care about that because, again, for them, it's not about any of the stuff they say. It's not even about the country of America. It's about race. That's it.
I want to say this. With the
Should
argument,
US should people who live in the US not care about?
Let's not interrupt each other.
Another brilliant point brought up by Mehdi Hassan here is that people living in the US should also care about the United States, of course, because if he doesn't care about the politics while he's living in the United States, which I think he has a resident there, like a lot of other foreigners, then he's going to have his rights removed and be abused in his own country, as this guy would. I'm not going to throw anything on him, as this guy's movement would like.
Because I have this thing, like people know I have this thing. I have to stay calm, okay?
Okay.
So he has this thing where he likes to stay calm. And one of the ways to keep it calm is to firstly say someone should not concern themselves about America. Then he says that, he cares a lot about the person's ethnicity and all of that. There is no stay calm here. The guy came in with hostility. And also the way he says, I like to stay calm, it's passive aggressive. And we all know that he is agitated. I don't even know what the reason is. I'm going to guess it's because he's talking to someone of an ethnic background that he probably is not comfortable being around.
Here's the thing. I am happy that he released J6. In fact, so much so that I was prepared to protest if he didn't.
Okay.
So when you say...
Now, I know some of you are going to be confused and say, wait a minute, why is he talking about J6? Wasn't he talking about race? Nope. The prompt was Donald Trump is pro-crime and he likes criminals. That was the initial thing. But for some reason, we had to start off with race, which tells you where these people's heads are at. Now, obviously, this guy said something that is very silly. He says he's okay with the people who got released, even though they broke the law and they broke it in a very terrible way. And he said that he is so happy because if it didn't go the way that he wanted to, he would have protested to have criminals come out. Uh, it tells you, of course, that Mehdi Hassan's prompt that Donald Trump is pro-crime is obviously true, but this guy just agrees with Donald Trump, and so he too is pro-crime. Now, he's not pro-crime in all ways, because of course, his pro-crime stance starts with race. If certain race commits crimes, he thinks that it's okay. If another does, then he thinks it's one of the greatest tragedies that should be highlighted everywhere, even though most of the crime committed by that race is towards their own people, and he pretends that it's some great attack on the white race.
Are you okay that he's pro-crime? Sure, because you know what? We're changing the definition of what crime is.
And there you go, very brilliantly said. He said exactly what I said. He says, whatever, I don't care about the crime. But this time he's going to make an excuse and say, we're changing what the definition of crime is. And of course, well, I hope Mehdi Hassan is going to call him out on it, because he is obviously the other. Also, I also am confused a little bit, by the way, why the far right supports Donald Trump, who himself has never said that he is for these types of far-right conspiracy theories. But I guess anybody who's white they're going to support.
First and foremost,
you don't think stomping on police officers' heads is a crime?
I don't think it's no longer a relevant conversation anymore. You're
Really?
arguing. No, it's not.
So he's already given up two arguments. One, the fact the prompt, which was Donald Trump loves crime, and then two, he's already given up the fact that he doesn't care that these people stomped on the heads of policemen, which is crazy.
Because you know what? Okay, have you seen the U.S. in the last 4 or 5 years?
Yes, I've
BLM protests. Have you seen? Okay, I myself have been involved in these protests. I've seen egregious things that you couldn't even imagine.
So here's where people have to remain consistent, which is anybody who joined any protest, whether it be on the left or the right, if they commit some crimes, should be suffer the consequences of committing those crimes. You still live in a country of laws. By the way, a lot of protests that don't even have anything to do with that. I mean, there are people who break laws all the time. Like take the people who glue themselves to the road or who destroy valuable art pieces so that they can talk about global warming or whatever. So there are a lot of people who do commit crime, and I think they should be handled how they should be handled by the law. But that does not mean that these people who love the law, when it's going against a certain type of people, should now go back on it and say, well, because now I think he's going to elaborate why he thinks that the law should not be followed. And it's going to show you that I'm correct, that it has nothing to do with any law. It has nothing to do with politics or anything. There's no debate there with these people. They don't care about that. They care about one thing.
So we have
Being
no
done to
rules then?
conservatives, it's not about that. It's about
about?
tribal warfare.
Okay.
That's where we're at in the U.S. I don't
And there it is. It's about tribal warfare. Another code word, by the way, for, a race war. That's what he basically wants.
So we have
being
no
done to
rules then?
conservatives, it's not about that. It's about
about?
tribal warfare.
Okay.
That's where we're at in the U.S. I don't know where you're at in the U.K. You're from India, so I don't really.
I'm not from India.
Are you
I love how he like throws his hands up in the air and pulls a funny face when he says you're from India. You can see the complete disgust in his face where he's like, oh my God, why am I even talking to this person? And I find it hilarious because the other people who are in here, a lot of them, I think they're trolling. I think they're just saying stuff. But this guy clearly believes some of the stuff that he's saying. But I don't think he's being honest about why he's saying the stuff that he's saying. I think it's pretty obvious that he just wants a division through race lines. But he can't just say that because the other people are not going to support him.
know where you're at in the UK? You're from India, so I don't really.
I'm not from India.
Are you sorry? Your parents are from India, so
I'm an American
you have
citizen.
your own stakes.
I'm an American.
A lot of these points that he's just dropping are going over the heads of a lot of people. So I think it's important that I clarify them. So he says, you have your own stakes since you're from India. Well, since you're Indian, he says you have your own stakes. The reason why he says this is because that's how he thinks. He thinks that the racial part of it sets him apart from everybody else. And every other race probably looks at it in the same way that he looks at it, where the stakes, let's use the word he uses, rest on the race of the person. Now, I have to say with Mehdi Hassan that for the most part, he really doesn't care. I mean, I've seen him trash Indian politicians about stuff they're doing, and I've seen he doesn't care about race. That part is pretty obvious. I would say the two things that he cares about are probably left politics, and number two, his religious faith. Fair enough. And I don't think he does it maliciously, and I think he's actually fair on a lot of these things. What concerns me though is that a lot of the stuff that this guy's saying is just flying over the head of Mehdi Hassan, and he's not addressing it. And partially it's because, if you're on the left and you address any of these guys, people are going to say you're sensitive, that you're over analyzing or any of that stuff. And this is where we have compete against, yet they pretend like, the problems are coming from both sides. I'll even throw in an argument, the Afrocentric argument. The Afrocentric argument is about Africa, and it's about how Africa this and that, blah, blah. It doesn't have the danger of a Eurocentric point of view that this guy is talking about, throwing people away out of your country and attacking them. It's very weird. Now there is a far, I don't know, right or left version. Well, it's probably a right version of people, like certain groups that scream at people, that say that certain people will burn or whatever, but that has nothing to do with Afrocentrism.
American,
You're an American citizen?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. I don't know how you got that, but fair enough. Here's
Another shot. He says, I don't know how you got that. I don't know how you got an American citizenship, but fair enough. Now, obviously, he doesn't think that America doesn't have a way to get these citizenship, because he knows there's a bunch of people in America of different places who have citizenship. So what do you think he means when he says that I don't know how you got that? He's clearly pointing out the race of the person. This is why this conversation is not even close to a real conversation. This guy is clearly coming after this guy's race. By the way, this is the same person who said earlier, I like to calm things down and keep it cordial. It's like, what, bro? Why you keep coming at the guy's race?
The thing.
Are you an American citizen?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But here's the thing.
Not sure how you got that. Okay.
Brilliant. Mehdi Hassan turns it on its head and he fires it back at the guy. And of course, because he is agitated at the idea that he could not be an American, he takes the bait and gets way angry. If you notice, Mehdi Hassan is smiling because he's very familiar with that type of argument. But that other guy, he is pissed because the guy said it and he's going to try and play with that. It's a good distraction.
Born here.
Okay.
Born here, and my family lineage is settlers from the 1500s, so I have some stake in it.
Settlers in the 1500s. Well, firstly, I don't know how he knows that specifically. I don't know if he did like some kind of tracing of his ancestors to know that they came in the 1500s. Most people can't trace their history that far. So if he did, that's crazy. But secondly, they're not settlers. The Europeans, when they came to the Americas, the very beginning, we're talking about the very beginning when they came to the Americas, they did not come with good intentions and they did not just do good things to the Native Americans. And they brought other people with them who didn't want to come necessarily to the places. So the word settler there is not even a good, and I wouldn't even use the word colonialist as well because it's too small. A lot of these guys who came to the Americas just came with like the purest form of like business evil. They came to win a game of domination and they didn't care who they had to crush to get this. It's like a very different version. A lot of places in the world colonized places and then gave them their rights or whatever. We can name hundreds of these people who would, they'd take over a land and then they'd let that land run itself and blah, 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 but it would be a colony. This is very different than going to some other person's land, killing them off, bringing slaves from elsewhere, replacing the population, and you don't care.
And the claim here, okay?
But you're
a little different.
But you're
than
a
yours.
descendant of immigrants, settlers,
I didn't know.
colonialists.
Yeah.
When you live in a world of lies, the truth burns. And you can see his face where he's trying to think up of an answer when he says you descend from immigrant. Mehdi Hassan says you descend from immigrants, and he just has to look off to the side and go, no. And he's trying to make up some reason why he is not from immigrants when we all know that he definitely was, because there were people who were already in America. Which is why, by the way, you can't say settle. How do you settle land that's already been settled? That doesn't make any sense.
And the claim here, okay?
But you're
a little different.
But you're
than
a
yours.
descendant of immigrants, settlers,
I didn't know.
colonialists.
Yeah,
You
colonials.
don't look very Native American to me.
I am Native American. Whites are Native Americans. What are you talking about? I am Native American. Whites are Native Americans. What are you talking about? I am Native American. Whites are Native Americans. What are you talking about?
Now, if you don't know what's really going on here, first of all, the delusions run deep. But if you don't really know what's going on here, I've heard this argument before that white people are Native American. And let me tell you how they get to that conclusion. They say, well, before the white people came, this place wasn't called America. And so when white people came, then it was called America. And you can't be a native of a place that didn't exist. And so the Native Americans, because the people who quote unquote found America were the white people, therefore they are native to America. Now, if you are not a person who likes to play with words in order to delude yourself into thinking that you deserve land, then if you look at it, the land mass that is today called America, were there people who existed there? I mean, he confirmed it by saying that his ancestors came there in the 1500s, which is still not confirmed. I don't know how he knows that. And again, you must remember how far away we are in the mainstream from these type of delusions. The idea that that white people are the natives of America, probably one of the silliest statements ever made on any show ever. I'm sure that shocked everybody, including Mehdi Hassan.
What are you talking about? Whites are Native Americans.
Really?
And to show you how stupid the idea is and how common it is within far right people, the real far right, by the way, not just a group that sort of trolly supports bad ideas, you see how there's a room of people clapping. So everyone in that room agrees with this idea that white people are Native American. Now, this is one of the reasons why I'm reacting to this video, because a lot of these far right ideas are linked with historical revisionism, real historical revisionism, not black people believing that they were related to the ancient Egyptians, not, some small ideas that could be debated back and forth, but really loony, like they know the truth, but they don't want to say anything close to reality. They just want to make things up so that they could win, which you can understand why they would want to win when they have such a losing position. So they'll just say anything. That's why he's diving headfirst into concrete by making such a terrible argument, and why the other people are clapping, because, they've got their little game to play. And remember that a lot of what they say is to troll and to agitate, which is why he was so attacky with his words against him in on the race of Mehdi Hassan.
What was happening before the 1500s?
I think you're getting confused with it.
I don't mind going on a tangent, but what was happening before the 1500s?
Calm down. I think you're getting...
What was happening before the 1500s?
There was indigenous people here that came here from Asia.
Do you know what indigenous means?
So if you're not familiar with right-wing people, especially those who care mostly about race, which is a lot of them, if you're not familiar with them, they like to play semantics. And so, of course, they're going to say the word native is different than the word indigenous, which it's the exact same thing. Now, here's where they play with the word. The word native and the word indigenous are vague. They don't mean what you think they mean. Obviously, we all know to what level we're talking about when we say native. We mean the first people to get there. But that's not what the word native means. Native means occurring in a certain place, So in other words, you can play with it, as a lot of right-wingers do, and even left-wingers do, far left-wingers do. So in other words, okay, let's just read what the word native means. A person born in a specified place or associated with a place by birth, whether subsequent resident there or not. Now, obviously, this is not the word native that we're looking for. The one we're looking for is number 2, of indigenous origin or growth for a plant or an animal. Now, if you don't know, human beings are animals. So the human species, the human species is native to Africa. Now, if you believe in race, then you can say different races originate in different parts of the world. So the Native Americans are native to America because they occur nowhere else in this native way. And it's funny how they use the word indigenous in the definition of the second native, which tells you that that's the one that is similar. Now, of course, the word native can be used in many, many ways. As I mentioned, even the word indigenous can be used in many, many ways. Obviously, you have natives born in a certain place. You have native homegrown. You can see the domestic, homegrown, homemade, blah, blah. It doesn't have to be applied to normal human beings. It can be applied to just about anything. This is why I say a lot of these words are not as precise as a lot of people think they are. But we all know what we're talking about. Now, the word indigenous is even better because, of course, you say originating or occurring naturally in a particular place or native. Now, this is the one that we were reading, the second definition of native. What he's doing is he's going with the first definition and pretending like there's no other definition. Born in a place. If you're born somewhere, then you're native to that place. Now, he will not apply that to any other person. So, like, these people are against I forgot what it's called in America, where if you're born in America, you're considered a citizen. They're not for that for people from Mexico and stuff like that, even though by that definition, they would be considered native to the land, which tells you they don't care about the definition. But I say it again, it's not about politics. It's not about none of that. They don't care. You can't debate them on that. They don't care. It's about race. And so let's go see the second one, of people inhabiting or existing in a land from the earliest times or from before the arrival of colonialists. Again, very vague word because colonialism happens in many times or many things in history. So, some Native Americans colonized each other and moved the other one from the other territory. So those people who are considered native now wouldn't be necessarily native to that specific piece of land because there'd be another group that came before them, blah, blah, blah. This is a game that they will play. But again, we all know what we're talking about. We're talking about the fact that there were people already existing here. These guys from Europe came, took over, and if you ever watch any of my videos about what they did to Native Americans who helped them, not enemies. They like showing this cowboys versus Indians type of America, but they were Native Americans who helped them fight wars against the British and stuff like that. And then these guys came and basically through contracts removed people from their lands for no reason, sending them to Canada.
Listen, before
indigenous people can't come from somewhere else.
Why do you ask a question?
Now, this is the only thing I'll disagree with Mehdi Hassan on when he says indigenous people can't come from somewhere else. You can be indigenous to a piece of land and not be properly indigenous to that piece of land. For example, Bantu people are indigenous to Africa, but they're not necessarily indigenous to, Zimbabwe or something as Bantus. But as Africans, they're indigenous. This is the vagueness of this word where you indigenous, depending on the geography, depending on how you look at it. So if you look at the earth, humans are indigenous to the earth. We're indigenous to the galaxy. We're indigenous to the solar system. But, it depends what level you choose to look at it.
If you're going to interrupt.
I'm not sure if you know what the meaning of indigenous means.
I do know what it means. It means
like
they came here first, right? They came here from Asia by way of land bridge. Have an argument with Neil deGrasse Tyson or anybody else about that. I don't care.
Now you're probably thinking, how did we get here? How did we get to the point where we talk about indigenous and all this other stuff? Well, remember, again, these guys only care about race. So the conversation has veered away from whether Donald Trump likes crime and likes criminals to what the word indigenous means, which, by the way, will happen with every single thing they talk about, which is why you can't talk to these people. I've talked to trolls before who have the same, and I mean in real life. I mean, so there's some people who actually do this stuff in real life. There's trolls before where you will talk about anything and then all roads will lead to the German leader who was very bad. I'll just say it that way, trying to avoid certain things. But and you ask yourself, how do we get here? Like if I mention anything, if we say, let's talk about, Russia or China or Australia or whatever, somehow the politics will always lead down to a road where we're ending up talking about Germany and whether or not that what he did was wrong or right or any of that stuff. And that's because that's the only thing they want to talk about. That's where the conversation will always go.
Land bridge. Have an argument with Neil deGrasse Tyson or anybody else about that. I don't care.
Is he an American?
I genuinely don't care. Yes, he is.
Okay.
I don't know why Neil deGrasse Tyson is being brought up here as the expert on human migration in the prehistoric world. But I love that Mehdi Hassan asks the question because I can tell, even though he is familiar with the far right, I can tell that he's having a hard time going through this guy's arguments. That's why he's like, oh, okay. He didn't expect him to say yes. Because a lot of the slaves came earlier with the Europeans, if we take mainstream history, came earlier with the Europeans. A lot of these Europeans have a hard time separating black slaves with white Americans. Now, some of these right wingers will say that they didn't have citizenship, therefore they can't be natives, even though they came in the 1500s. But this guy clearly is not going to go with that. He's going to say since the land was settled with African Americans, they too count as natives of America. It's not a compliment. It's not a good thing. And it doesn't make black people safe in their argument. It still, they have other reasons why it doesn't matter that they're quote unquote native. So again, it's a pointless argument that goes nowhere. They don't even care about who's native.
Just checking.
My point is, okay?
Nothing to do with crime. So far, you've agreed with me that these people are
Because you're
criminals.
derailing.
Mehdi Hassan tries to recenter the point, and the guy says he's derailing. See, this happens a lot in arguments, and I've seen it before. And this is one of the reasons why I don't like debating people, even though I think I'm very good at it. If you ever see me debate, you will see it. But one of the things that I've noticed is people will bring up, let's say, non sequiturs or whatever. They'll bring up points, and then they don't want you to address them, which is then be more direct about what you're saying. Don't bring up 150 other points, and then when I address them, you say, I'm derailing. No, you're derailing by bringing it up. It's like if we're having a debate about anything, really, and then let's say we're having a debate on whether paper is white or black, right? And then I say paper is white, and you say, oh yeah, but when I was like 13, I used to blah, blah, blah. And then I start arguing about the state of the world when you're 13, and you go, you're derailing. So I'm not derailing. You're the one who brought it to 13. Just say, well, give me good reasons.
Dude, I'm trying to stay on track.
You literally sat down and asked me where I'm from. I think you derailed this conversation from the get-go.
By that, but because
I'm not offended.
I'm
just wondering what it has to do with crime.
So let's address both points that he was saying. So one person made a point and another one also made a point. So Mehdi Hassan says, I don't know what this has to do with crime. And you brought up the fact that, where am I from? And that's not the only thing he said. He said a whole bunch of stuff. And then he kept backing it up by keep saying it. So he derailed it a long time ago. But because he didn't say, let's debate this directly, he's going to act like, and a lot of people do this, he's going to act like it has nothing to do with his main argument, which that's all of it. Now, the second thing is the guy said, I think you got offended, which, by the way, I think Mehdi Hassan did get offended. I know he's saying he didn't get offended. I think he did get offended. But why wouldn't he get offended? Why are you bringing up his race in a conversation that has nothing to do with his race and then questioning his legitimate statement, his legitimate position as an American or a European or whatever the hell, and saying that he has, certain positions because he's Indian about India that he probably doesn't hold? Why wouldn't you be offended by that? But this is one of the tricks. When you argue with people, one of the things that people try to do is poke you emotionally. And then when you get emotional, they go, look, you're getting emotional. It's like, but that's what you're doing. You're trying to get an emotional response. You get an emotional response. And then you say, why are you getting an emotional response? I think you got offended because you were trying to offend.
We're going to talk about immigration. Don't worry, later on. You can come back.
I hope so.
Right now, you're doing a very bad job of making the case that he's not pro-crime.
I just got a round of applause. I could probably get another one.
He just got a round of applause by a bunch of right-wingers who already agree with his statements. Yeah, it's not a great achievement. That's like being in a room full of whatever. If you were a warlock in your room full of warlocks and you get an applause, it's not really that deep of a achievement. And it was kind of a ridiculous point saying that you're native to America. It's not true. By the way, I had to address this because I forgot to address it when I was talking about native. The native in that sense is not talking about an entire population. Native in that sense is for the individual. The first one that he mentions, I'm native to this place. That native means an individual, not the group.
Actually, if I ask for it.
Wow.
So I don't think I'm doing
as bad. Is this how you get rounds of applause? You sit in a room with 20 people who agree with you. Wow, amazing. Amazing. That must make you feel good.
You know what?
This is how you know that this guy is actually kind of, he's kind of, I don't know. But he literally said, well, wait till this comes out, as if like most people are going to agree with him.
Amazing. That must make you feel good.
You know what? I'm actually
20 people
glad
agree
you're
with you, applauded you.
emotionally outraged right now. This is great.
I love it.
Do I have to say anything at this point, or are you just going to keep going?
No, please. Make your claim.
Well, my claim is that I don't care if it's pro-crime. You want to go back to the topic?
So again, you can see that his argument is, I don't care. That's his argument. I don't care if he's pro-crime. I don't care if things are pro-crime. Of course, unless the BLM, blah, 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 all the stuff that he brought up, for some reason, is like some big giant thing. Now, of course, I'm not saying BLM was all good. There was a lot of stealing of money, but that happens whenever there's money and there's humans, there will be stealing. But they did highlight some of the bad things that cops did, and a lot of people, they try to pretend that that part didn't happen at all. It was just bad stuff happening.
So that's fine. We agree then.
So,
he's pro-crime.
But
and you
I
don't
have a
care.
question for you though. Do you care on the opposite side of the spectrum?
Yes.
See, that's the answer he didn't expect, and that's why I say Mehdi Hassan is a little more objective than some of the other leftists. He literally said, "Yes, I do care." And of course, this guy's probably going to bring up some examples about leftist crimes that they committed. And then Mehdi Hassan, if there are real crimes, is probably going to say he doesn't support them, because if you're not pro-crime, you're not pro-crime. It doesn't matter who's doing it.
Do you care about law being administered to the opposite side of the spectrum?
I think anyone who assaults a police officer shouldn't be pardoned. I think that Donald Trump shouldn't have pardoned 9 Republican members of Congress who were convicted of crimes, and I don't think Joe Biden should commit. I don't think Democrats should pardon Democrats.
Fair, but
notice how Mehdi Hassan's hands have now drooped, and he's not even caring about the conversation that much, because he knows he has won this debate by a long shot. And by stating what he said, that he doesn't think that Democrats should pardon Democrats and Republicans should pardon Republicans, he has deflated this guy's argument. But somehow this guy still has something to say. His claim was going to be about, you should do the same thing. We agree now. So if it's not heated, this guy should just shake his hand and walk off and be like, well, I guess we're on the same page. But he's not going to do that, because he doesn't care.
I don't think you understand where we are in the U.S. then.
I think I do.
No, because you're arguing from a position of like a U.S. that doesn't exist anymore. Okay. We're headed towards
nihilism. No laws, nothing matters.
It's not about
everyone's pro-crime.
It's not about that. It's that.
So you guys probably don't understand why he got the reaction he got from saying the word nihilism. If you know anything about the right, what they hate is people without rules, quote unquote. So they're very obsessed with, I mean, if you take the religious side of it as well, they're very obsessed with these rigid rules. And so when you hear the word nihilism, they will react very strongly against it, because nihilism is very close to heathenism. And heathenism, they hate, because then you say you can do whatever you want, you can marry whoever you want, you can blah, 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 whatever you want. Fun, just seek fun in the world, because life is utterly meaningless and stuff like that. And that's why he got the reaction that he got. And also, this guy is heated, even though he started off by saying he wants to calm things down.
Conservatives for too long have been playing it safe. They've been playing by the law. They've been playing
by the law.
Yes, they have.
Maybe you missed the Bush presidency. Did you live here during the Bush years?
The faces that Mehdi Hassan keeps pulling over here is actually really hilarious, because the whole time he's looking at this guy like, whatever you're talking about. And it's funny how he has answers from the top of his head. This guy thinks he's like dropping the biggest bombs ever. Like he's just dropping them on this guy. And every time Mehdi Hassan just keeps swatting them away. This is pitiful. I mean, I know people who would argue the right wing. I mean, I could argue the right wing position better than this guy could.
Conservatives are
didn't play by the law, George W. Bush, nor did Ronald Reagan.
Let's be respectful to you.
And there it is, back to what he was again. Let's be respectful. After all of that, now we're going to be respectful.
Let me finish.
I'm not sure you've been that respectful, but okay.
I'm trying to bring it back, so let's both bring it back, okay? I'm conservative, okay?
Really?
Okay, so something weird that people don't know is that actually these guys, even though they're right-wingers, they're not necessarily conservative about their beliefs, with the exception of maybe the far-right people who rest their entire far-right beliefs on religion. A lot of the stuff that the far-right say has got nothing to do with conservatism. They side with them because, of course, they need to take a side, and the people on the left are not going to side with them at all. But in real life, they're not conservative. If you go look at conservative values, these guys don't have any of those values. Well, they have some of them, but they don't have the majority of them. They live in a completely different way.
Let me tell you this. We do play it too safe. We've been playing it by the book for too long. Okay. At this point, gloves are off, right? The left has made their point. They're willing to do...
the police force in Washington, the left?
Yes! Are you kidding me? The left? Are you insane?
Police officers.
Look at LA right here.
I'm waiting for one thing that Mehdi Hassan is going to say that this guy is going to say no to. Every question he asks, he always takes the most extreme version of it. And I think that is the trolling aspect of it. I don't think for a second he thinks that police officers are the left. It doesn't even make sense as a statement.
Here, you think those stand down? You
think the LAPD are a bunch of liberal Marxists?
No, but
now, of course, this is Mehdi Hassan trolling because not every left person is a liberal Marxist. Although I do find it hilarious because it means that he is fully aware of what he's doing, and he is using liberal Marxists as an extreme to try and agitate this guy. And obviously, he bites and says no, he doesn't believe that. An easy one.
I think they listen to liberal Marxists who tell them what to do.
Okay.
I wish he would give an example of these liberal Marxists who tell them what to do.
I think they listen to who signs their paychecks at the end of the day.
Can I just check, because you're doing lots of little diversions. We both agree Donald Trump's pro-crime, you're just fine with it.
No,
is that the position?
I don't
That's what you said so far for about 5 minutes.
I don't agree with your definition
What's
of
your
crime.
definition of crime?
It doesn't
Stomping on a police officer's head is not a crime.
Like I said, this is a giant waste of time on Mehdi Hassan's part, and he realized it a long time ago. This guy is just arguing to argue now. He already agreed that he doesn't care. So I don't know why he's trying to argue himself out of that.
That's your definition of crime as the Native American.
I am Native American.
If you say so.
So going back to the topic at hand,
as a person who is definitely not indigenous to America, in his own worldview, he probably shouldn't be listened to. So, and in everybody else's worldview, he shouldn't be listened to either. So,
different definitions of crime because you're
That's
talking
convenient.
about.
There's a criminal code in this country. It's called a
convenient.
U.S. criminal code.
You know what? Let's focus
That's
on
what
what we
everyone
agree on.
focuses
I'm
on.
sure you and I actually agree on a lot
Do
more
we
than
agree
you
that
realize.
people shouldn't stomp on police officers' heads? Can we agree on that?
again, this guy is doing that thing that he always does, which is heat things up and then try to bring it down. I don't know if this normally works for him in his real life, which is probably why he's bringing it here, but it's clearly not working for him this time. And I love how Mehdi Hassan says, do we agree that we shouldn't stomp on police officers' heads? Again, trolling, even though it's a real question. And you can see that he's not going to answer the question properly, because the only way to answer it properly is to say that the people in January 6th do need to go to prison.
I don't agree on that, then I really think this conversation is kind of pointless.
Because at first
this conversation is kind of pointless. But not only is it kind of pointless, but unless this guy says something new, it's redundant. It's going nowhere. It's circular. What other word can we use that will be redundant, meaning it's the same old, same old?
First of all, you're saying what? That the police have the authority, that they're given the authority? I don't accept the authority that's been given by liberal
position.
It's interesting that he said two things that are contradictory. One saying that he doesn't care if people break the law, and then the other one saying that he does. But it's funny because now he's saying that he doesn't even respect the authority of the police, which means he's strengthening the point of Mehdi Hassan.
The conservative are pro-police.
Then you don't know what a real... Hey, listen, you're in a room with juggernauts right now, okay? I'm telling you right now, you are going to be blown open if you think that my
if we're going to struggle with the
right,
English language for the next couple hours, then
what you're up against right now, okay?
100%.
Yeah.
So basically what he said there is he gave up any argument and he just said, you're debating juggernauts. If you think my position is alt-right, you won't believe what's coming next. So basically he understands that the positions of the people that he's surrounded by are crazy and crazier than he is. Unfortunately, he's right that the people on the other side will say stuff that is next level compared to the stuff that he's already said.
Newsflash, the conservatives are liberal to me, okay? Neocons, the libertarians, all those mainstream people, they might as well be leftists to me, okay?
See, this is where the trolling really comes out. So let's look back at what the highlights of what he said. So he said at one point that let's wait until the video comes out to see if the majority disagrees with me. Clearly it will. Secondly, he said he was a conservative. Now he's saying the conservatives are all a bunch of liberals or to him, or a bunch of leftists to him, and he mentions all these people, and then this guy has no position. We all know where he stands. It's very simple. It's all racial. Got nothing to do with nationality, got nothing to do with nativism, got nothing to do with any of that stuff. It's all just a thing that has to do with race, which is why the argument, which revealed itself to be pointless, is pointless. Because they're not gonna give you their true argument, which is white people.
Okay, that's how far to the right I am. Do you understand my position?
So when I kind of guessed it when you sat down.
Now, this is the funny part. He thinks he's revealing something about himself that was unknown to Mediasan and the audience, which is, oh my God, I'm so far right, you can't even believe it. But it's like, we already know, we can see it. You acting like you're taking the mask off now is not helping. It's too late.
About obeying police. Why would I give the authority to police? Do you know here in America?
Do you think Donald Trump should be pardoning 9 members of Congress who committed financial crimes? Are you pro financial crime?
That sound is over, and of course, the question, which is good, is it okay to pardon financial crimes? And of course, we all know that there's a lot of financial criminals, both on the left and the right, who have been, let's not say pardoned, but let off. I mean, some of the banks that were, I'll just leave it there. Some of the banks, some things happened there and whatever. So this guy could have had something to push back on, but he's so heated, which, by the way, he said he wasn't going to be heated. He's so heated that he can't even think straight at this moment, even though he was the one who said he wants to calm everything down.
Pro-financial crime.
Do you know who Thomas Timbo is?
Pause.
I think the people who clapped you have voted you out.
No, all right. Head back to your seat. You've been voted out by the majority.
Nice to meet you.
Well, I think we all learned a valuable lesson there. Now, if you guys could tell me what that lesson is, I would be very happy to know. What I feel like I learned is that there's some people in this world who say crazy things and should probably be ignored until they come up with a real position. And this is for the left as well. There are some far left people who say some stuff that is unbelievable, and then people start taking them seriously, and then they pretend like their position is serious when they know good goddamn well that they're just saying the craziest thing for attention. And I think this is a round table, I guess, a surrounding of people who 90% of them don't believe a word of what they're saying. They know that 90% of what they're trying to do is to agitate for no reason. And in a couple of years, they're going to be, I don't know, crying for forgiveness or saying that they've changed. You'll see.